Okay, it's Philip Lee returning with another edition of Inside Digital Media, where you'll find tomorrow's digital media industry leaders today. Our guest today is Will Richmond, who is the editor of a website called Video News. He spells it V-I-D-E-O-N-U-Z as in zebra E. He's an expert in broadband video. What we're going to do is have him discuss some statistics that he has compiled from ComScore that shows just how much internet video has increased over the last 2 years. He comes to two basic conclusions. Number one is that the activity has increased 100% over the last 2 years, from 7 billion monthly streams to 14 billion monthly streams. And secondly, that the dominance of YouTube, or the importance of YouTube, has increased. 2 years ago, its market share of those 7 billion streams was about 20%, and now of the 14 billion streams, YouTube has over 40%. So let's go ahead and let Will narrate his presentation. I'll ask a few questions along the way, and then afterwards I'll summarize what we think. Okay, Will, we're looking at the first slide here, total videos viewed this month.
Right, so what I did again was go back and look at the data that ComScore has released for its video metric service over the past 2 years, which really demonstrates the growth that the broadband video market has gone through for the past couple of years. So in this first slide, what we see is the total videos viewed per month has jumped from 7.2 billion videos in January of 2007 to 14.3 billion videos viewed in December of 2008.
So nearly doubled there.
Yep.
Now we're looking at U.S. monthly views.
Exactly. So now we get into a handful of slides that kind of explain the equation of how growth is actually occurring. So the first piece of it is that the number of U.S. monthly viewers has increased over this 2-year period from 123 million to 150 million, and that represents an increase in the penetration of U.S. Internet users from about 70% in January of 2007 to 78.5% in December of 2008.
So we're looking at the number of videos and viewer per month.
Right, so this is another part of the equation, and here what we see is that the average number of videos that are viewed per viewer per month has jumped from 59 in January of 2007 to 96 in December of 2008. So not quite a doubling there. And interestingly, actually, not on this chart but elsewhere, the duration of an average view has stayed pretty constant at somewhere between 2.7 minutes and 3 minutes. So here it's, again, consumption is being driven by just the sheer amount of videos that people are consuming. And this is, so the next slide shows you basically the result of the last slide times the average duration of each video view. So here what we see is the total number of minutes watched per average month. And what we see is that in January of 2007, it was 151 minutes, and that's now doubled, more than doubled actually, to 309 minutes. So 309 minutes represents about 5 hours, a little over 5 hours of consumption. And that's what the average viewer is now watching on a monthly basis.
Do you think that YouTube is continuing to do well here?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the last slide here, which is that YouTube has been the 800-pound gorilla of the online video market, and is, I think, quickly turning into the 8,000-pound gorilla of the online video market. So what we see here is that in January of 2007, YouTube generated about 1.2 billion video views. That's increased now in December of 2007 to 5.9 billion video views. And what that's translated into is the fact that the share of views just by YouTube has grown over this time period from 16.2% to 41.2%, all of which I think underscores the point that to some extent there's YouTube and there's everybody else in the online video market. It commands such a large share of all video consumption, and it's obviously grown strongly in the past 2 years. Recall that Google bought YouTube in November, closed the deal to buy YouTube in November of 2006, and look at the growth curve that they've been on in that past couple of years. So a lot has been written about whether YouTube, has really built out its business model sufficiently yet, and I think that's certainly a work in progress. But what's unquestionable is the astounding growth that YouTube has experienced in the past 2 years.
Yeah, now I think so. Then basically the two conclusions I think that you draw here. One is that the growth of online video has been pretty substantial over the last 2 years. Then the second one is that YouTube continues to be the major factor. So, what are your conclusions that for our audience? What would you recommend that our audience do with this information?
Well, if I were let's start with the vantage point of being a premium content provider. I would certainly be looking at how to partner with YouTube as distribution point for my premium video. And of course now with its Content ID fingerprinting program, YouTube has, I think, come a long way in terms of reducing piracy on its sites and copyright piracy. So, and they've come a long way in terms of monetization and video quality. They, of course, just recently announced HD capability. So, number one, I would be looking at distributing content on YouTube, but I wouldn't make that the first and last thing I would do. I would be looking at other points of aggregation that I could syndicate my video to. I've written a lot about what I call the syndicated video economy, where content providers are syndicating widely now. So they should be looking at YouTube and others like Hulu and AOL and Yahoo and MSN and Veo and lots of other aggregators. Basically anywhere that there's an audience and good business terms can be achieved is an outlet that premium content providers should be looking to make partnerships with.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the presentation by Will as much as I did, and I guess I would come to two conclusions here. I would agree with Will that if you've got professional content and you want it to be viewed on the internet, then you should give serious consideration to posting it up on YouTube. And secondly, if you've got any kind of a website and you think that you want to communicate with your visitors and potential customers and customers with video, then you ought to consider having your own channel at YouTube as well. If you're going to go to all the trouble to put video on your website, then you might as well have a YouTube channel. Inside Digital Media has a channel, and basically anybody that's communicating with video should give serious consideration to this, because that's where the traffic is. In fact, in our analysis, YouTube is used by a lot of people as a search engine. In other words, if they're interested in videos, they go to YouTube and then they search for the topic that they're looking for. It's almost as though they skip the step of searching for Google. They think, number one, well, I want video, so let me go to YouTube. And then once they're at YouTube, then they start the search. So it's really, I think, important to be on YouTube. And this is going to become even more important as internet video gets to the TV, which we think is, a dead certainty in 2009. We're going to see a lot more of that, and certainly in the years beyond as well. So if you want to communicate with your customers via video, then that's great. We think you should. But if you're going to do that, then you also ought to have a channel on YouTube.